Welcome to our panel, Cloud AI, Machine Learning, Trends and Legal Implications. Next is MyLab's Donna Yang, Chief Commercial Officer. MyLab possesses its own supercomputer and runs its vision AI engine named i2 Brain for a variety of vertical solutions such as industrial AI, heart medicine AI, robotic intelligent fulfillment service.
Hi, well, I'm in Seoul, Korea at the moment, and it's 1 a.m. here. So first of all, I want to thank ABA and co-chair of the session, Trish Grant, for having us here today. When you talk about IP thefts at companies, you might think about, writings about, prototypes of a product that a company tries to commercialize and whatnot. But what's most important is actually your business know-how, which can be in the form of a business plan. It can be in the form of emails going back and forth between employers, engineers, or with your customers. So it can happen in any form, which is why we think, one of the ways to prevent it is, like I discussed in my slides, is that the hackers are always smarter than us. So the only way to, prevent this from, prevent your IP from being stolen is to make it look more difficult. Sure. Well, what can you do to make it more difficult? So, let's say we walk into a store. There's two convenience stores side by side. One store has a sign that says there's surveillance camera. Another one doesn't. Which store is the thief likely to, break into? So we would make it more, known to. Companies can make it more known to the public, what kind of software you're using to prevent, prevent any sort of data leakage.
Okay, great. Ann, any thoughts around the cybersecurity space, regulatory landscape, or any thoughts for the future?
Yeah, I think we're, Tricia, just really seeing the tip of the iceberg in this space. And I know even at AT&T, there's lots of additional efforts that I didn't touch on because it's, some of them are specific to network security providers or telecommunications providers. But I just think we're seeing the tip of the iceberg. I think we're also starting to see, in addition to some overlap in some of these cybersecurity reporting requirements, we're also seeing some agencies are starting to follow on to other agencies, and especially seeing really tight reporting deadlines. And for anybody who's been involved in a cybersecurity or a breach incident, 72 hours is not a lot of time to get your ducks in a row and figure out what happened. So, I think it's, when I look at this space, I'm concerned about very tight reporting deadlines and requirements. I'm also concerned about just conflicting reporting deadlines and requirements and trying to keep those all straight. So I think it's really important for you to make sure you understand the landscape of what applies to your particular industry. And then of course there's federal efforts and state efforts too. And just the other thing that I think is interesting, especially in the in-house counsel space, is looking at your board of directors and making sure, I think we're starting to see a lot of focus on boards of directors and focus on chief security officers, making sure that they are appropriately reporting up cybersecurity incidents, and that, especially in the board of directors space, that they have the expertise to effectively manage that risk. So to the extent that that's something that impacts your company, to the extent you're in-house counsel, I would definitely start to look at those sorts of things, making sure that you have the expertise on your board. That may not be something we've all been thinking about, making sure you have the appropriate level of reporting of cybersecurity incidents, and that those are elevated, you know, to the appropriate levels if they do happen.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Ann. And we have another question here from our participants. Can D&Os be cyber liable? I'll open it up to any panelist. So I'm thinking that we mean, can directors and officers be cyber liable or cyber breach liable? Can directors and officers be cyber breach liable?
I'll take that. I think that if you look at the regulatory landscape in the last 2 years, it's obvious that cyber has become a board of director kind of topic. And in case the company decides to not invest in cyber or does not invest into cyber, absolutely directors can be held responsible. Personally, I'm not aware of any specific cases, but I think that generally the sentiment, both in the regulatory landscape and in the market, is that directors and officers and CEO level and downwards employees are definitely involved and should take action in order to mitigate cyber risks the same way they would do with any other relevant risk. And that's a discussion that needs to be held at least annually and in an informed way in the board of directors of the company.
Yeah, I would just piggyback on what Ben said. I mean, I think it's, you know, we're definitely seeing in the regulatory space a focus on what is the expertise that your board of directors has with respect to cybersecurity. And, you know, I think that regulatory agencies are expecting boards and certainly C-suite level officials to have some sort of cybersecurity oversight function. So yeah, I do. I'm not aware of any cases, and obviously, you know, this could be an insurance question too, right? For director and officer liability. But yeah, I mean, I think it's important, and I think it's important to make sure you definitely have a path for reporting cybersecurity incidents up to an appropriate level. I think that's important too.
Yeah.
And I'll just mention, I think one thing that's really helpful to talk about with the insurance company is the incident response plan. I think as Ben had mentioned, one thing that sounds a little bit straightforward, but it actually becomes an issue is sometimes when a hacker infiltrates a company and encrypts all of their files, they don't actually have a copy of that plan, which would include the insurance policy. So we always recommend having a printed copy of everything, including the insurance policy, so that when a breach is suspected, the company immediately contacts the insurer and the experts, forensic and legal experts who could advise them. To the extent that there is a potential third-party claim filed against the company, oftentimes it will be in, if it's against a director or an officer, that would be in their capacity as such. And so often they would be deemed part of the insured.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for attending. We are at the hour, and many thanks to our panelists, Micaela Glass with the Benson Firm, Ben Haklai with Microsoft, Donna Yang with MyLab, and Ann Beck with AT&T. And again, many thanks to our sponsors, the ABA Media and Technology Committee through Melanie Hollis, as well as the ABA Science and Technology Law section through Stephen Wu, and the ABA Antitrust Litigation Committee section of litigation through Allison Wyman. Thanks so much and appreciate your attendance.
Thank you.